All right, we're
Are they
fine.
on now?
Yeah.
We're good.
Do you want me to redo that?
No.
We're good, okay. If we could all stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, Wendy, if you could do roll call?
Alderman Terrence,
Here.
Toby Whipple, absent. Terry Boyer,
Here?
Matthew Bugman,
Present.
Barbara Erdman,
Here.
Bill Miller,
Here.
and Barbara Schrader. Okay.
And could you read the statement of public notice?
The meeting was noticed in accordance with open meeting laws on October 16th.
And could we have a motion to approve the minutes from our June 2nd, 2020 meeting?
I'll motion to approve the minutes from our June 2nd meeting.
A second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
And
Any,
what, ask if everybody's in favor.
oh, everybody in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Any old business to discuss? Nothing, okay. And new business. The possible sale of a portion of Woods Road Conservation Land, tax key 2227.989.012. Come forward.
Hi, is this on? Yeah, hi, I'm Adam Tresbatowski, the planning manager for the city. Kind of just to give you a little bit of an overview, and we have the applicant here too also. So this request that's in front of you tonight is really looking for a recommendation from your committee as to the possible sale of about 0.67 acres of land that the city currently owns that's kind of considered parkland / conservation land. Is really just open space that the city kind of inherited that was reserved for an old right-of-way. An actual old farm road was kind of in this area of Woods Road. When the road eventually got redone and it became, instead of being a 90-degree corner, it became a nice curved road. This is where Woods Road turns from north, south to east, west. By default, it just became conservation land because it includes a lot of wetland, a little bit of non-wetland area, and it's kind of just unusable passive use land. Back in 2012, a similar request for a different portion of the same lot came in front of this board, this committee, and eventually the Common Council to sell, at that time was about 0.2 acres of land. And at that time, the Conservation Committee did approve the recommendation of selling this land, as the city doesn't really have any purpose for it. Like I said, it kind of became ours by default when this road was vacated, and there's really no other purpose for it. You know, if the city owns it and if it's not, you know, a government building, it kind of by default becomes park or conservation in a lot of areas. So in this scenario, the applicant is looking to split her current lot, and her lot currently is just kind of north and west of this property. But due to the frontage requirements that are in the land division code, the owner would need a little more frontage and a little more land to make this land division possible. So she approached the city and is looking to purchase that about 0.67 acres of land from the city. The bulk of the land that she wants to purchase is not wetland, even though it's immediately surrounded by wetland. From a conservation or planning standpoint, and Tom could speak to this if he has other opinion, we really don't have any specific use or plans for this area. Like I said, it's just kind of a little corner remnant, as you saw in your packets in the map, that they would like to purchase to make this land division possible. As happened in the past, if this is something that this committee and eventually the Common Council were in favor of, the direction that we did last time this came up was the idea of the city having an appraisal done at the applicant's expense to determine the value of the property. And then in the past scenario, that was the value that the property was eventually sold for. So, you know, what we'd be ultimately looking for tonight would be, you know, a recommendation if the committee is, you know, okay with this proceeding in the same direction that they did back in 2012. Anything you want to add?
I would like to purchase as little as I can. Just sitting here, but as I said, I'm sorry. No, I said I would like to purchase as little as I can, but I would like to split my land to be able to stay within the city and the community and my kids continue going that school and not create more chaos that we already have, so. And I'll pay for, I already have done the wetlands survey, and now I have a surveyor as well waiting to do the survey of the land and divide and pay for the costs and that are associated with this land split.
Any questions?
And Adam, this is something that you guys feel fits. There's not any objections on your end, no plans for the land, nothing that you see being an issue?
Yeah, myself and Tom Zagar, our city forester and conservation coordinator, we've definitely talked about this. There's no specific plans for it. Like I said, if this wouldn't have been this old road remnant, it probably would have never been ours to begin with.
Okay.
The majority of this lot, especially the lot that's remaining, and as you see on the maps, the stuff that's shown in the hatched green is wetland. So they're looking to buy this little portion that isn't wetland. It's so small that not, if we ever even had plans there, which is this tiny little corner, there's nothing that's really practical for it. You're not gonna have a trail or anything. It's not like the big entry or trailhead to anything else much larger or bigger. So there, it really doesn't have a purpose in my eyes as a planner, and in Tom's, I believe, too, on the forestry side, of having any really purpose on its own. The only person that probably benefits is the applicant potentially.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the request.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. Next up, discuss conservation preservation on the, is it Gala? Gala property, tax key 222.986. Thank you, Tom.
Hi, I'm Tom Zagar, City Forester Conservation Coordinator. So the petitioners came before the Plan Commission already, I guess, and Common Council. Hi. Hi, I'm Tom Zagar. We haven't met yet. They want to split off a half-acre lot from about approximately 8-acre parcel, right? Adjacent to Pioneer Drive, just north of us over here, just north of us here. And the remainder of the land contains a large wooded area, about 6 acres of woods. And in our conservation plan, that area is identified as a high conservation priority because it is adjacent to land that, to more forested area that we already own. So acquisition of that property, public ownership of that property would be advantageous. It's also very high quality. The woods surrounding it, just north of it, have a really nice assemblage of spring wildflowers like jack-in-the-pulpit and trilliums and different wildflowers that grow in that area. And also the area south, what we call Betty's Woods, where the boardwalk meanders through. That is also a very nice woodland. So this represents kind of this donut that's privately owned within and a greater area that is publicly owned. So we own about 14 acres of woods, and with this other 6 acres, it would be a 20-acre contiguous woodland area, which would be, if city owned, would be the largest contiguous woodland that is owned by the city. We own more woodlands within a couple of the conservation areas, but they're disjointed. They're fragmented from each other. So, Adam, would you like to add anything to?
I think it's just important to note that, number one, and one thing we've stressed to the owners that are splitting this is obviously willing participation. The city's not looking to take anything or ask them to do something they aren't a willing participant in. I think that's really important to note that. So it's, I've had a handful of conversations with the Gala family as to what kind of the options that we foresee are out there. And, the options kind of range anywhere from doing nothing, which is not our interest, and on the far extreme end, land dedication, meaning giving it to the city, which also that's not enticing for a lot of people. It might be enticing for some, but it's more enticing for large developers who have a lot more to gain by giving something to the city. So the 3 options that we kind of laid out in the memo to you guys. Kind of range from the idea of possibly purchasing, assuming that the funds are available, and Tom did outline a few different funding sources between some landfill funds, some possible conservation fee in lieu of dedication funds, and stewardship possibly, Tom, is that correct? Maybe?
The grant.
Grant. So there's no guarantee that there's money there for it, but we kind of want to get a hierarchy of ranking of maybe what the goals of this committee would be as far as what their hope would be is like a 1, 2, and a 3, with the 3 options being either full-blown purchase of the land as kind of the most involved, and then taking a step down, the second option, which is the first option on the one page, talks about the idea of purchasing a formal conservation easement, which would probably include the limitation formally of development rights. It would be a lot more formal than what we typically do. And then the last option is what probably happens on a lot of our lands that we do that have just kind of small wooded areas, is a more, I won't say informal, but an easement on the CSM that does have some restrictions as to what can or can't happen there. So it'd be purchasing an easement, which is a little less involved, or just a kind of a protection easement. Those are kind of the 3 options that I would hope the committee could kind of give a ranking to what they think what they would like us to try to pursue with the applicant, and if the finances are available.
Family would like to say something.
Hi, my name's Mark. This is my son Mitchell, my wife Debbie. Her mom gave the land to my wife, and it was in her family over probably now 70, 80 years. So it's kind of nice that we've had it all these years. And my son's going to be building a house soon, and he wants to build it right in between the 2 properties. So we're kind of deciding, well, we were going to like to keep the trees and everything the way it is anyway, but we might want to keep it ourselves. So we kind of get some ideas from you guys too to help us with the decision. And I don't know if we're ready to make a decision today, but we need some advice from everybody here to help us decide. Mitchell?
No, that was very well said.
Does anyone have any questions?
I'm not sure who can answer this properly, but do we know, or at least have a general rough idea of the cost for each of these 3 options? Do we have at least an idea at this point in time?
Well, so purchasing, fee simple purchase of land that has little developmental value, we don't, without an appraisal. So it would have to be appraised and figure out what exactly it is worth. I guess that pretty much answers that. And an easement is technically a purchase of development rights, but then again, there's not that much development of ability of the remaining parcel of what we're seeking. Once the road frontage portion is split off, it's no longer divisible. So that would play into how it appraises, I guess.
So
We'll see.
it would be landlocked once this development is done?
Well, it couldn't be further divided to make another parcel, correct?
Yeah, because there's no frontage, right?
So it's the western portion we're interested in, and the line that was drawn on there is obviously a hypothetical. So where they would, I think it says it's about 0.8 of an acre, 0.86 or something and then the other parcel's the 0.5 acre parcel. But that's a hypothetical. They could, decide to sell 4 acres of the woods on the western portion or something like that, or it could be, whatever is offered. Right.
2 or 3.
Yeah, that was a potential option that we've been discussing, of the sale of like kind of the back third of it. And then using the rest of that area there for the conservation. But like my dad said before, that's not something that we officially decided yet. It's just something that we've been discussing.
I have a question that,
Yes.
the part of the arguments, we're gonna need you to come up to this microphone. So Sorry.
You have to look at the map.
The part that you're thinking of selling, that 3 acres, could someone build on that or do something with it?
No, they could not because there's no frontage.
Okay, so I guess as part of the committee, I would think it would be wonderful for you guys to sell it to us. Tom does a wonderful job of taking care of those forests, so you would have just what you have now, but you wouldn't have to pay taxes on it, and it would be a great thing for you to do for the city, so.
That's what we need, different opinions. That's what we need, different opinions.
It's kind of hard for me to share an opinion when I have no reference of what are we talking here? Are we talking it's $5,000 or are we talking it's 50 grand? Like it's a dollar thing, right? So it's really hard to have a strong opinion on that without some sort of ballpark on what we're talking about. Or if we had like a funding source, hey, it was a grant from the state, like, okay, sure, then let's just, if it's what it's got to be used for. So there are some questions I think that potentially, can we leave those sort of open as a, I think Rick has something to share potentially. He might have something to add.
And I guess from this committee standpoint, look at this from a conservation standpoint. Pretend the money doesn't exist because that's a conversation the council's going to have about it, but we're looking at your, say, expertise on, how we're going to do the best conservation thing for the city. The cost standpoint, let the council figure out later on if it's something that works. So we're just trying to get this through the different levels of committees right now. So I know we're all taxpayers and we all want to, look at the money part of it, and that's good, but we want you guys to look at it from what's the best thing from a parks and conservation viewpoint, and then other committees will look at it from different lenses as well. Hope that helps give you a little focus on where to have the discussion.
My personal opinion is if it's available, we should acquire it because it is an awesome piece of property. I look on it from the trail and I know the trees that are in there. It is something we can't recreate. It's something really that is an amazing piece of property. And once it's landlocked, the value of that land is really whatever you can sell it to the next person for because you can't develop it. So why not put it in for the rest of history into something that's greater than just your generation or your generation?
Well, one of the reasons we didn't want to do it because over the years, it seemed like more water's been coming in that from drainage, they've made some changes over the years. And I don't know where all this water's coming from, but we're concerned that you don't keep dumping water in there and making more of a wetland, it seems. Because if you keep putting water through there, all the oak trees are going to die anyway. So we want to make sure that if the property is sold, that you're going to take care of it nicely. That's one of our concerns, and we're hoping, because we like it the way it is, but over the last 15 years, it seems like it's getting to be more wetland and more wetland and more wetland. Because right there where you say that boardwalk is, someone took a drain underground and put a pipe through there and put it right next to our cul-de-sac there. And now we got more water in there. And like for 2 years ago, until they built the drainage there, like a little drainage to the road, we had water in our garage and it was a big mess and it was terrible. So I just don't want to make sure that those things don't happen again.
Tom, do you have a vision on that? As far as
I can't speak about the drainage. I'm not, don't really know what the history was with, if it's wetter than it had been through history. But yeah, I'm recommending trying to acquire it. And obviously today there's doesn't need to be any decisions made, certainly by the family. It's they own it, and we're just making our intentions known of what we would like. So it's willing buyer, willing seller situation. It's their property. We're just letting it be known that there's an interest.
okay. Any other questions?
So then I guess we can make a motion here, Adam. It's not really asking for specifics, just to push it up to council and let them kind of do the negotiation process.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing would be, if you look in the memo, there's kind of like I said, at the bottom of the first page of this item and then the top of the next two, there's kind of 3 items, and they're kind of in level of, you could argue intensity, with the first being the most intense because it's full purchase, transitioning through purchasing the easement, and then transitioning to, just more of a kind of informal easement to preservation restrictions would be a better word. I guess, is the committee in agreement of that order? That's kind of what I'm hearing, but I don't want to speak for you. And if that's the case, just so we kind of know that's the order of intentions on maybe how we look to try to proceed. And if options 1 and 2 don't work, maybe by default we end up at 3. I mean, 3 is going to kind of happen no matter what. It's really a question of, do we try for those first 2, which would be the purchase of the property outright or purchasing development rights through an easement?
So the motion would be to recommend this move to the Finance Committee and Common Council, and that the city pursue some type of acquisition or protection of this forested area.
In that order, 1, 2, 3. Right. Sure, I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right, moving on, the Greg, is it Clan or Klon? Klon, the Greg Klon Memorial Proposal.
Hi, everybody. Adam Young, Recreation Specialist. I wish I was up here under different circumstances talking to you guys tonight. If you guys don't know about our pickleball program for the Recreation Department, we're a very large pickleball program in town and the Milwaukee area. We consist of volunteers that host our open play program for the past 5 years since we've had a program. And recently, on Monday, September 28th, we actually lost one of our ambassadors, Greg Klon. Ironically, he actually passed away on our courts from health reasons while playing. And it's with sadness that he is no longer with us. I'd like to read you a little something, that way I can go off of it. He was a Muskego Recreation Ambassador since 2016. He played a vital role in making the Muskego pickleball program the largest adult program in our community and one of the most attended in the greater Milwaukee area. Not only did Greg volunteer countless hours for our department, he volunteered for several organizations in Muskego and the Milwaukee area, including the Muskego Pantry and the Senior Taxi. Greg Klon is the definition of unselfishness. He spent most of his retired life giving back to others. He had an unbelievable charisma to him that rubbed off on anyone that crossed paths with him. His kindness and selflessness demeanors are examples we should all strive to attain. He made the Muskego community a better place. He was a great friend to our department, and we do miss him dearly. With his years of positive ambassadorship to our community in the Muskego pickleball program, we will be looking to honor him with our goal to have Greg's name live on for generations within Muskego, to understand the meaning of positive citizenship and how he gave back to so many people. What I'd be looking for you guys is just a recommendation. The rec department would like to honor him on naming a court at the Lions Park after him, along with creating a memorial on or near the courts, so we can display, his advocacy to our community. Any questions?
Okay. Nothing?
What are you going to put there?
Right now, I'm looking at getting a memorial bench made for him. We do need some seating at the park anyway. This would be a good way to to show his volunteerism for us, along with creating some sort of nice piece to memorialize him on the courts as well. Something tasteful, to be honest, something pickleball related. I don't have that in mind yet, but along those lines. Any recommendations would be great as well, but that's what I'm looking into right now.
And that
Any
would
other
be-
questions?
That would be for the city too. That's the city-sponsored thing.
As of right now, it would be a city-sponsored thing, but we have had several individuals reach out to us on any way they could help us. He volunteered for over a dozen organizations throughout the area. His short retired life, a matter of 5 years, he did nothing but volunteer to others. It's truly remarkable. And to be honest with you, knowing him over these years, he would probably be cringing right now, looking to get him recognized. That's the kind of man that he was. He liked to be silent and helping others, and I only see it fitting to really make his name live for a long time with us.
Thank you.
Make a motion.
Thank you.
A motion to name a court at Lions Park after him and placing a memorial bench or some other type of memorial there.
Yes,
Okay.
as written, thanks.
Second.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
All right,
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Wait, what? Who is? Adam? The Beer Garden 2021 Component Brewery.
How you doing? I got the next 3 or 4, so I might as well just sit down. I got my notes in front of me. So a lot of you, some have participated in our beer garden that's out there. For the last 2 years, we've had Component Beer Brewery run it. This last year, pretty much it's been no city employees. They pretty much have been everything. So it's pretty much no time for anyone at the city, which has been just outstanding from us. They've taken care of all the food trucks. They take care of all the music, everything from closing up shop. Just to kind of give you ideas of some sales, everyone's asked like what people generate. So just to kind of let you know, from 2020, they did total gross sales about close to $19,000, and our profits, 400 daily rental, is about $3,200 that we got. So it's a pretty good thing. It's a very social thing. It's not a lot of money, but it provides a very good social atmosphere for a lot of people in the community. What we'd like to do is, we did RFPs the last 2 years, and we don't feel like we need to do one. We want to just give it to them to do it. They've done really well for us. It's been excellent working with them. The one other thing that we'd like to do is they, instead of 3 times, give them an opportunity if they want to host it 4 times next year. It's kind of up to them. If we didn't know it was COVID last year, they probably would have done 4 times in a heartbeat, just because this is now one of their main sources of revenue. So I'm just looking for an approval for you guys kind of move forward for 2021 with Component Beer Garden. This, of course, will have to go through finance. It'll have to go through common council. We'll have to do a contract with them, just like we've done it in the past. But it's something that we've all talked from a city standpoint of kind of like, hey, let's just give it to them, and they were willing to do it, which is kind of nice. So, any questions, comments?
Has anybody else expressed an interest in doing it, or?
We have, last year when we did an RFP, we had 2, Component and someone else. So it's kind of like we're used to Component. We know what they are. It's very comfortable for us because we don't have to retrain them. And this now would be our 3rd year doing it with them. And that's really nice because of the fact that we have 0 really responsibilities. None of us have to hang around. I mean, they know how to close it up. They know the bathrooms. They know how to light the fires. they know, it's kind of a turnkey for us, which is really nice for city staff, so.
For the process, we're not talking, it's not like a dollar bid thing, is it, on that RFP side? Like if this wasn't a, hey, we'll give you more to do it? I'm just asking because if somebody says, hey, you're eliminating the process, is there any type of?
No, it costs money, I mean,
We're looking at the same, right? If somebody else came in, it's not like they're going to offer us $600.
no, no. You can't, by the way, there's state rules. We can't get a percentage. We only can do how we have the contract set up with like so much a daily fee. So, and at some point, if you say you're going to charge too much, people just walk away and it's not worth it. So, but.
So when you guys pick the dates, or do they? Do we, or the?
We work with them because we try not to say, don't do it on the same day as maybe Dandelion Days, or we work with them and we have rentals. So why we do this early enough, one, we want them to have their days chosen so that they can advertise as much as they can, put it on Facebook. Two, we want to make sure we tell them, don't have it this day if we run into conflicts all the time, so.
Okay. Yeah, it was pretty wide open this year.
The one thing though is it really wasn't, because our parks probably had the most rentals you probably ever have.
Right.
And Tammy can probably say this, maybe we average about 10 a year?
Probably about 30.
30 a year. And how many do we have this year?
72.
We had 72 rentals. So it's double rentals this year. Our parks have never been probably one of the highest use ever, just let everyone know. So
Yeah.
it's pretty impressive, so.
So you're looking for a motion to move this on to the finance?
I would say
committee and-
approve component period, looking for approval to say for the 2021 beer garden, we approve it to go with component brewery.
I'll make that motion. I thought they were great. I mean, I went there, it was good, very good time, very well organized. Has there been any issues? Police been contacted for any?
Nope.
So.
We have never had one, I think, and you gotta understand this too, is I think we did it 2 years with, is this our fourth year? Yep, or 1 year with Raised Green or 2 years? Two, that's right. We did 2 years with Raised Grain, and then we did 2 years with Component. And even though Raised Grain, when we did the RFP, they do all the Waukesha County ones, they still didn't even go after this one, even though they did it for 2 years, so.
Okay, so motion, we're looking for a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the Muskego Isonox Snowmobile Club request for trail marking. So this is an annual thing for everyone. Some people aren't new. They always request this around this time of year. The one they always request is seeking approval for access to Little Muskego Lake via Park Access 11. I believe that's kind of right behind the senior home off of Janesville Road. And then they also do a marked snowmobile trail through Dunoon Park. These are the requests that they do every year around this time, so. And I'm just looking for a motion to approve the request again for 2020, 2021, is that how it goes?
I'll make that motion to approve that.
I'll second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Approved.
Okay, next one, update on capital budget approval for 2021. So, the next memo, and thank you for every one of you who did attend our parks tour. I hope it gave you a really eye-opening of all our parks and our, that's out there. I threw in some other stuff too, like where, wells are, or houses and stuff like that along the tour too. So, our first round, and I'm just focused, I think last time I showed you the 5-year plan, I'm just focusing on 2021. Please remember, these have been initially approved, but nothing's finally approved until next Tuesday, October 27th. That's when Common Council officially approves these budgets. So what we were, the big things that kind of we were asking for, and the main one was the Park Arthur Fields, regrading of fields 1, 2, and 3 for proper drainage. That initially, right now, has gotten approved. We did not get approval for the turf for alternative, that's the 100,000, but I just wanted to, we threw that cost in there, and I probably will still probably get a bid for it. Not that we accepted, everything's got to go through finance, but it's just one of the things that we didn't get accepted for. The regular baseball fields for the safety improvements, that is done every year. Those safety improvements is how we get the fields ready, and then we turn them over to the baseball clubs. So it's everything from grading the fields, getting them ready, redoing the pitching mound, just your basic maintenance that needs to be done every year to make sure the fields are safe, that we provide them. Why we don't have a lot on there for rugby, soccer, and football fields is because this past summer we just did soil amendments. I don't know if you guys were out there, you saw these tractors that were aerating fields, throwing soil amendments on there, new seed. What we're hoping to do is we thicken up our grass in our fields. This is one of our worst, not worst years, but just our fields got used a lot. So this is part of our MSD green infrastructure. And a lot of that work just got wrapped up probably a month ago. So that's what they were doing in those parks for getting those soil amendments. So what we were hoping for is really good grass that it will take and start growing and everything all set for the spring sports with that. The other thing too, the playground sets, the miscellaneous playground replacement equipment, wood chips, that's every year. 5,000 every year to replace equipment and 10,000 for wood chips. Now the Manchester Park, that was the one that Ally is doing, and then we were going to put the $40,000 in there. So as of 10/13, Ally already raised close to $30,000 on GoFundMe, and I already heard since that time it's already over that. I have to write these memos so far in advance. So she's at 32,000 already going. So here she's going to hit 40,000, guys. I'm telling you. Some of her, Tammy showed me some of her marketing stuff and some of the stuff that she's done. Kind of amazing for a 17-year-old. I see some of the stuff which companies should hire her to do this stuff for, because it's been pretty impressive. And to do this all while going to school. So I have no doubts about it that she'll reach that 40,000 in no time. And then we'll work with her, and if she does it before the end of the year, we can get some good rates on a piece of equipment, and then we'll add that other 40,000. And then my last statement in there is just kind of just like in the paragraph is me talking about the soil amendments that we've been doing. But just to kind of give you guys, our park system is above and beyond going. And one other cost number, how much do we raise in parking fees at ILL this year? So just to let you know, IL, $44,000 we raised in parking fees, which is the dollar pretty much. Parking and launching, but we come in about half a year maybe? We're up about 14,000. So that's just, our parks are being well used just for this. And I don't see this changing for next year. People are going to use them. People from other communities who aren't letting them use them, they're going to come and use our parks. So I don't have any recommendations for you guys. I'm just open up for discussion if you guys have any thoughts or any things or any questions for me or Tammy or anyone about parks. Kind of just wrapping up the year, getting ready.
Any questions? No? And you're not looking for a motion on that, correct?
Nope. Just kind of an update, so.
Thank you. Okay, status of projects. Are there any other projects going on that we need to get an update on?
Nothing that I have right now.
And director's report. Tammy.
Hello. Scott kind of stole my thunder with a couple of things that were in my memo, but we had a very quiet March and beginning of April, and then it became incredibly busy for us. And Adam and I were overwhelmed with the amount of use we had May through September. So he had mentioned, we normally have between 30 and 35 rentals of our picnic shelters in a summer, depending on when 4th of July falls, when school lets out, they kind of, graduations and things are really busy in June. And this year we had 72, with 12 of them being at the new picnic pads at Idle Isle. So even though we didn't really do any marketing of those, other than them just existing at the park and people seeing that they were there. So next year we fully expect that number to double, because we'll actually market and have signage and things like that, as well as we did not staff Idle Isle this summer just because we weren't sure in the beginning what was going to happen with COVID. We will go through with that next year, having a staff person there in the weekends and the evenings, being able to rent our equipment, our kayaks and stand-up paddle boards. We did a lot of that this summer as well. Adam would always have to run down, or our ranger on the weekend, and check out the equipment to people. So we have always had 2 baseball tournaments for as long as I've been working here. One of the organizations quit doing it, and a couple of years ago, a girls program jumped in. And this year we ended up having 5 tournaments. 2 of them happened on one weekend alone. So we had all 4 Bloom fields going, as well as all 4 fields at Park Arthur. It was insane busy. So the 3 new organizations have already requested dates for next year. We've had 2 additional girl tournaments ask, and we just had one today from Muskego Storm Girls asking. So we fully anticipate probably having all weekend tournaments next season for at least Park Arthur fields. The pay stations at Idle Isle, we've brought in over $44,000 for launching and parking. That's up almost $1,400. We still are collecting money there, so we will be up throughout the year for that. We had some randomly super weird outside park use this summer. We had a football kicking camp from Texas that got kicked out of Illinois that brought their program to Dunoon. We had a punting and kicking from Minneapolis that brought a program here. And we had a lacrosse program because they couldn't get on any fields in Milwaukee County or pretty much anywhere in Illinois. So they went to Dunoon and were thrilled, and they've already talked about coming back next year as a regional location outside of Illinois and trying to increase that here. We always buy $450 450 boat launch stickers. We had 5 left. Somebody came and bought one today. We've never sold out. We usually have 100 left. So boat launch stickers went just gangbuster. And Dunoon, Big Muskego and Dunoon launches were up $2,800, which meant we had about 400 more one-time launches on those lakes. 400 people who've probably never been there went on those lakes. So that's huge. And then our little kid sports camps are just off the charts. We have everything we've done this fall. We had 15 kids. We had 30 kids on a wait list. Adam added more classes. We still have 20 kids on wait lists. So even though COVID is here, we are managing well. We're cleaning, staying on top of everything. We went to smaller numbers, more spaced out. So it was a dead 2 months, and then we picked right up after that. We are going to continue doing our seasonal program guide online. That went well for us in the summer as well as the fall, so we are not going to mail it out. That saves us about $15,000 a year, and it gives it immediate access to everybody. Depending if your mailman doesn't deliver it the same day your neighbor gets it, and the class is already filled, now everybody knows exactly when it's going to be there and they can get registered. And then we have switched to a new registration software, and we will be going live with that in November. So it will allow people to rent our parks, rent tennis courts, pickleball courts, schedule their practices and everything. So, and then it gives us the ability to text people. So we don't have to try and log in. If we have a rain issue, we can immediately text them from our phone. It'll go out to all of our participants. So that's huge. So that will be live in 2 weeks.
I have a couple questions real quick.
Sure.
Do you know, this off the top of your head, the revenue that came in from those tournaments, about what the city's pulling? So next year we will have to change our policy, because the policy we have right now for our field uses, if it's 100% Muskego-based program, they don't pay anything except for tournaments. So a tournament. Yeah, I'm strictly talking the large tournaments.
So those large tournaments pay $75 per field per date.
Per date or per game?
Per date.
Oh, okay.
That's what the current policy is. So it needs to be adjusted, but we can't do it right now because The leagues have already got their budgets together for next year, so we will start that at our first meeting in March of next year, so they have some time to plan. So we only make a couple $100 on those tournaments.
Okay.
Their biggest expense is their field prep costs, and then they all rent the shelters. So, and then we require them to bring in dumpsters. So in other communities, while they may scoff at like, oh, that's $1,500 for the tournament, the majority of it went to field prep. We made $450 on the tournament.
And they were doing all their own field prep? They brought
Nope, they're under our contract,
Okay, got
so,
it. Well, that
so
makes
they
sense.
had to pay the $165.
Perfect. Okay, that was it.
Are there hard copies of the schedule in case people can't do it online?
If they can't register online?
Yeah, or if they can't, they don't have access to look at the book of all this stuff?
We
online?
do have some printed out here. We have mailed pages to people that have called in. Usually the people that want to register for stuff that don't have a computer, they come in right away and just ask a lot of questions and then sign up.
Oh,
So we don't have a super strong adult enrollment of any of our programs in Muskego. So we're pretty much 14 and under
Kid stuff.
for our stuff.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you. Tom, the Conservation Coordinator's Report.
Thank you. Well, most of it was the memo that I wrote was about land management and some of the invasive species control. But recently, our Public Works Department did some tree work where they crown raised a lot of the trees on Janesville Road. They did a pretty nice job. And this year, we were supposed to do a workshop for pruning and some safety training with the staff. And because of COVID, that was postponed. We have a grant for doing that, and we'll be doing that then next year. So we'll continue to work on doing the pruning on those downtown Janesville Road trees and trying to clear up some of the vision problems that were obstructing signage and traffic. So we'll continue with that. And then I just pointed out there's one other thing. The DNR is interested in doing a very, very large burn on the western side of Big Muskego Lake. They want to burn the cattail fringe. That was the last item on my memo. And over the years, cattails, the dead material, creates such a tangle that wildlife cannot use that area. When it's burned, the new growth is advantageous to especially muskrats, which move in and make lodges and create openings in the marsh, and which in turn creates wildlife habitat for duck nesting. So they want to burn, and it's a crazy amount of like 600 acres of cattails, but it would be done in winter, and it goes pretty quick, and it looks spectacular, but it's very safe. They need to contact, I think, 6 different private owners who are adjacent to that. So it's what the state wants to do. It's in their land. Most of it is state-owned land or lake bed of Big Muskego Lake. So they just want to get those landowners on board who have some overlap of privately owned land. That's all I have. Any questions?
Do you know when that's happening? I know winter, but.
They do it over, I guess this is something they routinely do in Horicon lately. And it's done when, I'd imagine there can't be a lot of snow. And the lake cannot be too high, otherwise it would just burn the tops of the cattails, really wouldn't do much. So if the lake were lower where that material is dry, and there's not a lot of snow. So.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else that anybody would like to communicate or business that would like to discuss? Input?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All right, we are adjourning at 5:51.